I will say I do not know how to spell Blagojevich. I can also barely say it.
Do you know that it's Rod? You know that, right?
Yes, but I think most people don't know that. You hear him being called Rob Blagojevich like a million times.
Rob Blagojevich. Rob Breath. The double B, Rob Blagojevich. Because then it just becomes one name. It's Rob Blagojevich.
This smacks of Health South, which I still can't say.
Health South.
You guys, before we get to the show, girl, hey, let's remind the people about the Patreon. What do you say?
No. What if I said no? No, of course, absolutely.
You guys, we are smack dab in the middle of, or we're nearing the end, I guess, of I'll Be Gone in the Dark. You know, the HBO series about the Golden State Killer, the Michelle McNamara book.
Oh, yeah, I'm there. I'm there with you during the recordings.
I know. It's one of the greatest documentary series we've ever covered. It's so good.
Excellent. It's very well done. It's all about women doing the work, I got to tell you.
It's true. I know. You guys, the Patreon's where we do our series. So it's like Making a Murderer, The Staircase, The Jinx, Lorena, Tiger King, Don't F with Cats. What else, girl? Name two.
You said McMillions. We didn't do McMillions. Yeah. We didn't say McMillions. We did, that was Menendez Brothers, OJ.
Lacey Peterson. Yeah, it's over 140 bonus episodes to download and binge right this second. We're putting together a page on the website, so you guys will be able to go and see all the stuff we have there. We've got interviews with people up the wazoo as well, girl.
Up the wazoo. It's also where I am apparently just really massaging my campaign platform. Yeah. I'm really auditioning.
Jillian Pensavalle for sheriff, you guys. If you don't know what we're talking about, go make yourself aware and vote.
And surprisingly, the platform isn't let the women do the work. It's something else.
Tell them what it is.
Shut up. Everybody everyone shut up. We have to do better. Like, it's just a lot of me just screaming, there's got to be a better way. Like, we can't just live like this for much longer. I know I'm just a dumb, stupid woman. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my existence. I'm so sorry, but there's got to be something better. And everybody shut up because I have a plan. It's very, I kind of go back and forth on this with apologizing and then getting angry and telling everyone to shut up. I just go back and forth. Anyway, it's a party over on the Pates. Lady Pates, she's waiting in the wings for you. Here we go.
Travel down the road back again.
Girl, our old girlfriend. Girl. All right, girl.
I told you earlier, wound up like a top. I haven't seen you in a week and a half. I am spinning.
My favorite GP.
Well, here we go.
Girl, please tell the people what we're talking about today.
Trial Media 6, Blago! Exclamation point. I hate him.
So this is the whole thing about Rod Blagojevich. I'm going to call him Rob. I know it's Rod, but I'm going to call him Rob. I'm sure I'm going to do it.
I'm, against my better judgment, going to just call him Blago because I type. I'm a very fast typer. I have to be honest about it. But Blagojevich wasn't going to work. I'm not that good.
I had the same problem. There's V's and J's, and I just don't know how to do it.
So instead of going like, blah, I just did Blago. And again, it's like you're like, again on the Pates, you were like, I'm not calling him Erons. Right. He's just the goddamn Golden State Killer. I didn't want to call him Blago, but my hands were saying, girl, you want to get through this? You want to get through this today? You type Blago and you get over it. So
my first note about this guy is that he just looks like the bully date rapist from every John Hughes movie from the 80s. He looks like a total cross between 80s Charlie Sheen and 80s Judd Hirsch. He just looks like they had a kid.
How about 80s Charlie Sheen and like today Charlie Sheen?
Right, that's true. I was going to say with like just enough Sean Astin in the face to soften him up a little bit.
Don't bring Sean Astin into this. Sean Astin is a goddamn treasure. Don't bring him into this.
Well, this whole thing opens with Rod Blagojevich.
Oh, God. That's the only time you're going to hear it that precise.
So it opens with him at like the height of his popularity, and we see him like coming off a bus or whatever. This was when he was the governor of Illinois, and he's one of those that like can't walk down the street without getting mobbed. People love him.
He is greeted by enthusiastic groups wherever he goes. He stops to talk with people, to shake hands, to sign autographs, and at times gets an earful about the issues.
Rod was a natural talent in that he loved to jump on something that would get him on TV.
Joining us tonight, Rod.
We learned that he was like a whistleblower and he's like getting hostages released. But girl, don't call him a hero.
I don't think we're heroes. I just think we're looking after our own.
And this is all before the opening credits.
I know.
And then it all gets put into context, and you're like, oh, okay. Just another mediocre white guy who failed up.
Governor Rod Blagojevich is accused of trying to sell Barack Obama's Senate seat to the highest bidder.
While he may be the nation's least popular governor, he's been the most popular news story.
The governor's own words describing the Senate seat. I've got this thing.
I've got this thing.
I've got this thing, and it's golden.
So here's the thing. The episode really opens with Blagojevich's wife, Patty.
Oh, God. And is she a Patty? She's really a Karen, right? She wants to see the manager now.
I don't know. I feel for her. I really like her. I do feel for these women who marry these men in politics. The men go on and make fucking assholes out of themselves. And then the wives are sort of like, well, what do we do? And the other thing I want to point out, the fact that this is not a sex scandal blows my mind. You know what I mean? Doesn't he seem like the type?
Oh, yeah. That might come out later. Right. I mean, I won't put anything past anybody at this point. As my late grandfather said, I no trust in nobody. So who the hell knows?
She's here. She's talking to the camera, and she is saying,
when somebody gets indicted in a marriage, majority of the times they get divorced. I suppose I could have packed my kids up and said, good luck with that. You know, we're going to go live in Wisconsin or something like that. You know, call us when it's done. But the thing is, I couldn't let the father of my children and my husband for years fight that battle alone.
When my husband got indicted, most women throw their husbands away and try to save themselves. And
normally when this happens, you get divorced.
Right, exactly. And she's like, I guess I could have done that. But she's saying, I love my husband. Yeah. He's been my husband for forever. He's the father to my kids. The thing that she says that made me crazy is she says,
I know Rod, and I know his heart, and I know his intentions, and I know that he never intended to break any law or commit any crime. Rod was all about trying to make things better for people.
I cannot stand it when people think that we live in a world where both things can't be true. Where the good and the bad can't exist at the same time. I believe you. We're going to learn he did some really great things for people, but he can also be a narcissistic egomaniac, which I think is what he is.
Right. And Democrats can be nightmares too.
Yes,
Let's not get crazy about it. And also, it's so funny that is the thing that tripped you up, because what tripped me up when she was like, I could have just been like, well, we're off to Wisconsin. Call us when it's over. And I'm like, no shade to Wisconsin, right. But girl, that is your option? And right. To me, when she said that, I was like, she's never leaving this guy.
No.
She's never, because that is such a fake thing that she said. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So we get this news report about all the Illinois governors who've been sent to prison.
When they talk about term limits for Illinois politicians, they don't mean how long they can serve in office. No, they mean the prison term that former Governor Otto Kerner served for taking racetrack stocks in return for favors. Or the year and a half former Governor Dan Walker served for bank fraud after he left office. Or the 6.5 years former Governor George Ryan is now serving for selling off licenses and contracts.
When we're talking about term limits, we don't mean being in office. We mean being in prison, Tom. And then, but the voiceover doesn't say Tom. That's right. Me adding the Tom. The voiceover is just the time Kerner's spending the clink for all those racetrack stocks, or Walker for that bank fraud, or Ryan for those bullshit contracts. The list goes on, Tom. And I'm like, wait, what? All of this corruption. And I'm like, God, Chicago hasn't changed since a little musical called Chicago. 5, 6, 7, 8. But Illinois is known for its corruption.
But can I tell you for 5 seconds about how much I goddamn love Chicago? We did some of our best live shows in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago treated us very well.
That's a little bit of revisionist history.
Except when I got food poisoning after our show.
Because we did the show and then we were starving and it was 11 o'clock and we couldn't find a single goddamn place in Chicago that was still serving food. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and you went home
yes.
and I went out to eat with Susan Simpson, Britta and Dawn and all these, and Mike and all these people, Susan Simpson's pals. And then I got food poisoning. I woke up in the middle of the night sick as you don't even want to know.
Oh
and then
at
2 a.m, I was like, oh God, here it comes. I was just throwing. I was like, but I love Chicago.
Yeah.
Have I mentioned that? Chicago. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, please, I'm obsessed. But the whole point is that, when all of these governors, governor after governor after governor is going to jail, Blagojevich shows up and he's running on this, if you can believe it, you guys, he's running on an anti-corruption platform.
And that's why this is so insane, because he really did start, he was this young guy, and we get all these people like Jeff Cohn from the Chicago Tribune, and this guy Pete, this political strategist who's with us throughout, and he's like, look.
Here's this guy from the neighborhood said, come in and I'm going to take down these elites who've been in power for 26 years, and we're going to have a new day in Illinois. And people are like, that's my guy.
He was like a young kid. He was going to take down these elites and get rid of the corruption. And, you know, after 26 years of corruption, I'm like, how about since a little musical called Chicago? More than 26 years.
I gotta say, like, as we're getting Blagojevich's backstory, girl, I am doing a good job with it. I can really do it.
Nailed it again. Say it again.
Blagojevich.
He's like Beetlejuice.
So while we're getting the Blagojevich backstory here, we see a picture of him in a tank top as like a college kid. He looks really good, girl.
Okay. I mean, at this point, I know what you're going to throw at me. Like, I just have a shield. I'm like, okay, just say it. That stupid hair and that stupid grin and that stupid mediocreness that he has is just so basic. Also, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
There are like 100 zillion jobs I would never want to do, and I wouldn't be good at them, like doctor, like a surgeon, like political strategist.
Oh, God, I know.
Sounds so exhausting to me.
Your queens just came out. It sounds so exhausting to me.
Oh, because I mean it. Because your whole life is like just like strategizing. I'm tired just thinking. I'm glad we have Pete with us because he gives us a lot of good information. It's another job I'd never, ever want to do.
I know. I couldn't agree more.
Jesus, God.
So we get this whole backstory and we find out that Patty, his wife, and Blagojevich met at a fundraiser for Patty's dad. To which I said, girl, tell me everything. Who's your fucking dad?
Wait, but before that,
Patty
decides to tell us, me and you, and the world, that she had just broken up with her boyfriend 4 days earlier. And she says, and I quote,
My husband was literally like the rebound.
Patty tells us that Rod Blagojevich was her rebound because her dad is a big-time political guy. And then, wait, before that, she goes, well, his car was always getting broken into.
So we're in the car and there's no radio. And he was just singing Elvis songs to me. I thought, there might be something there.
He was singing Elvis songs to her.
I know. She describes it as though it's endearing and wonderful.
It's not.
No.
I promise. No. And also, like, if you're like the one couple who's like, oh, babe, that's us. If you guys sang Elvis songs to each other in the car, we're not talking about you. We're talking specifically about Rod Blagojevich and Patty.
Yeah. And so we learn about her dad. What's her dad's fucking name?
Oh, my God. Her dad is Alderman Richard F. Mell, who everyone calls Dick Mell.
It sounds like you've been sitting in that exact position for 4 days waiting to say that sentence.
I know, I have it written real big in my notes. Alderman Rich F. Mell. But according to the door with his name on it that he's standing in front of in this footage that we're seeing, he's the chairman of the Committee on Committees of Rule and Ethics. And I'm like, that's politics for you. The Committee on Committees. Exhausting. Like, this is why I never...
That's the Parks and Rexiest.
That is total, like... And somewhere Leslie Knope is like, oh, isn't that great? Right. A Committee on Committees. And I am so Team Knope. She's like, oh my God, a committee about committees. That's so great. Like, she just needs Ron Swanson. But everyone calls him Dick Mell.
Dick Mell is the Chicago political machine. Just loud, in your face, opinionated, and just at the center of everything.
Dick Mell was an alderman, which is a very powerful person in the Chicago City Council. And he had this political army.
We learn that he's the kind of like in-your-face guy, and as they tell us that, we see this like photo of him like on the legislature floor or whatever.
No, he's like on a table.
Yeah, he's standing on a desk, just holding up a paper and screaming.
And then someone tells us he had this powerful political army that helped him win elections and stay in power. And I'm like, oh.
I know.
I know. What about the people and our votes? No? Does that not matter? Great.
So we find out that Dick Mell needs somebody to run for...
State representative.
Like state representative, yeah. Rod Blagojevich is a young lawyer married to his daughter, and Rod had always wanted to like get into politics, and so he says to Dick, because Dick's the guy, he's like, raises the money, if he gives you the stamp of approval, like, you're going to win the election. And so Rod's only concern is like...
Rod, I had one question. Am I free to vote the way my conscience urges me to vote? And my dad said, yeah, I don't care about that.
Dick Mell says, I literally don't give a fuck. Like, he does not care about that at all.
And so in my notes, I say, so now Rod's in politics. Hooray, I guess. But we learn immediately, like this is a very fast-tracked part of the episode, which I kind of love.
Can you imagine if they had dragged this out? Oh, God.
Because the whole point was like, Rod was restless. Like, being a state representative was super boring, had no power. And I'm like, tell that to every other state representative who's actually trying to do fucking good work.
Right. You know what it means? Like, you go to your neighborhood and you do, like, you get the school built or the library made, you dick.
You turn the power back on.
Right.
We'll talk about that on an after party. You know, it's like, this is just Rod's point of view that we're hearing here. Like, oh, state representative is super boring. And like immediately once he's in, like, thanks to his father-in-law, he's like, I'm going to run for Congress.
Right.
And in 1996, he becomes, quote,
the well-financed Democrat with powerful family ties.
And of course, he gets elected.
Right.
And then he's immediately like, wait.
This is so easy. I can't believe how easy this is. I'm going to run for governor.
Let's go for governor. Let's what do they say? Like in Vegas, we're like, we're going to let it ride. Let's go for governor. Let's go.
And so the whole thing is like, this is where he's learning it's all about raising money. And the political strategist is back to say, like,
we felt like for Rod to be known as more than Dick Mell's son-in-law, you got to have $1 million. We said, Rod, you get that, people start taking you seriously. He would go anywhere to raise money, and there were no limits back then. So he was raising $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 at a time.
He raises $3 million. He gets elected governor. He does all this great shit.
He was able to do some expansion of health care for children. He very famously offered elderly people free rides on public transportation.
They passed a minimum wage hike, one of the first states to do that. He forced pharmacists to dispense birth control and not allow their veto just because of their political beliefs.
Can we stop for 1 second that we live in a fucking world where a pharmacist can opt out of giving you the birth control your doctor prescribed to you because they don't believe in fucking birth control? Are you kidding me?
But the thing is, here's where Rod learns, okay, so money equals power. So all I need to do is raise my own money, independent of my father-in-law, who's excellent at raising money. For all of Dick Mell's flaws, of which there are many, he's very good at raising money because he's a bully. He's just a bully.
Yeah, and Rod just like wants to get out from under the thumb of his father-in-law. You know what I mean? And so he gets elected to a second term, and everyone is saying, like, this guy has to have his eye on the White House. And we see him the night that he wins the election for the second term. This just made me pause. We see this reporter, like, talking into the camera, screaming at the top of her lungs.
The voters have overwhelmingly said they want a second term as governor. You've got to wonder, what is he thinking of where he'll be going after this term is over?
You have to wonder where he goes after this. To which I say, can we not give reporters a separate room at parties like this?
I know, and I think that's when they're actually playing like a song from the Blues Brothers.
Totally.
They're playing I get it, Chicago, I get it, Jake and Elwood, but they were criminals. I mean, I love Jake and Elwood Blues, but they were actual criminals. So Rod, a little foreshadowing, perhaps. And the thing is, everyone's like, he has this perfect pathway to the White House. Oh my God. And so, and this is where everyone's like, remember that lesson he learned about how important it was to raise money.
But the problem with Rod Blagojevich, he had overlearned the lesson of how important raising money was. And he was willing to do just about anything to raise money.
So Patty's like, so it was a little tense between my father and my husband because Rod is actively trying to get, exactly like you said, like out from under the thumb of his father-in-law.
Yeah, it's a whole thing where I actually thought you'd love this reference because somebody is saying like Dick Mell funded all of this. Without Dick Mell, there is no Rod Blagojevich getting a second term as governor.
Right.
Like he never would have been there without him. But like the narrative that Blagojevich is trying to spin is that he's like Alexander Hamilton.
Dick Mell didn't let Rod Blagojevich forget that he was a bit of a creation of Dick Mell. And Rod Blagojevich wanted to think of himself as Alexander Hamilton, who came up, out of absolutely nothing and made something of himself all on his own.
Right, but Alexander Hamilton was also trash, so...
Right, yes, exactly.
So, like, don't use that, don't do that. Like, he was also a pain in the ass and an asshole.
Right, so it's at this point that Rod meets these new fundraisers. So Dick Mell has been financing him this whole time. And now he meets these new fundraisers, and the campaign manager guy is saying to us, like...
Somewhere along the line, Rod meets a couple of fundraising people, and they started working for him. Every campaign tries to push the envelope on campaign finance law. These guys had torn up the envelope and they just didn't care.
They were going around seeking campaign contributions in exchange for things that Rod could do as governor, different contracts or different appointments.
They are literally like selling appointments and selling access to Blagojevich for campaign contributions. So we get the story about a very tense family dinner in 2004.
Okay. This is here. Like, if we could also do a podcast about like tense family dinners.
Oh my God. That's the name of the show, girl. Like, that's a great name for a podcast.
Just like, tell me about your Thanksgiving.
Totally.
During the election year. Like,
the whole setup for this dinner is that, like, Rod is doing amazing. He's in his second term. He's got his eye on the White House. Dick Mell, his wife's father, basically got him there. And now Blagojevich is saying, like, girl, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah. Like, they're saying, like, Rod raises enough money that, quote, Dick gets left behind. So
Yeah.
Dick Mell is like, left what?
I know.
When I made you. And he has a point, girl. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and so, like, I feel like this whole dinner, the whole idea was, like, it was going to be a coming back together of sorts, and it just doesn't go that way.
But before we get to the dinner, Patty goes, just almost looking down, like,
My mom was, of course, on my dad's side, and I'm, of course, on my husband's side, and it was very difficult.
So from that point on, things were really tense between us and my father. And it's like, Patty, like, what did you want to do with your life, girl?
I know,
like,
I know.
Because I think she could have been great. And
Of
then
course.
a rebound ended up being her husband. Her words, not mine.
But what happens is, like, after this dinner, it does not go the way Dick Mell wants it. He goes to the press and he's like,
Dick says this offhanded statement to a reporter. They're giving away board and committee assignments for $50,000 apiece. Boom, it's big headlines. That's not just bad press. It gets the FBI's attention.
the story hits the papers, the music changes.
Yes.
For the Pates fam, I have, oh my God, is Doug Matthews here? Because we see, like, all of a sudden the FBI is involved and we get the cool kids FBI music.
Yeah, it's not Doug Matthews. It's Pat Murphy.
Murphy.
Probably related. Like Doug Matthews, Pat Murphy. Okay.
Totally. I love him. And he's just like...
But this is also Pat Murphy's first time in front of any kind of camera.
Totally.
He's the antithesis of Doug Matthews in the sense where he's like, what?
I know. He says, Special Agent Pat Murphy tells us,
The FBI starts an investigation with credible indication that perhaps a crime has occurred. We were out there pulling together records, and we had picked up clear information that Rod was being very blunt about trying to raise campaign dollars in exchange for things that we could do as the governor.
Remember, it goes like this. They're at the dinner. Dick Mell gets mad. He goes to the press. He says they're selling appointments. The FBI looks into it, and they're like, oh, girl, actually, yeah, that's happening.
They're like, Rod is making promises all over town and being very blunt about it. It takes them 2 seconds to get a wiretap. In an hour, they're up on Rod Blagojevich's phones.
And it's crazy because according to these talking heads, everybody in Blagojevich's, like, universe knew that their phones were being tapped. And everyone is like, when you know your phone is being tapped, you bury it in the backyard and you don't talk on it ever again. And they're like, Rod Blagojevich did the opposite of that.
I think he felt like there's no way that his phones would ever be compromised. As a sitting governor, and that's really where he gets into the trouble, is he continues to run his mouth like he always does. At that stage, this was still an investigation about campaign contributions, but they started to hear, wait a minute, what's he doing with the Senate seat? We need to let some of that run.
He thought that he was untouchable as the governor of Illinois, and so they couldn't possibly be tapping his phone as we start to hear the actual recordings.
I got some lady calling my house for Jesse Jr. here a little while ago. We were approached to pay to play. That, you know, he'd raise me $500,000, an emissary came, and the other guy would raise $1 million. So he's talking about Valerie Jarrett?
Yeah.
We should get something for that, couldn't I?
Yes.
How about Health and Human Services? Can I get that? You and an ambassador. I take that.
The FBI's listening in. They're hearing about the campaign fundraising stuff, but Rod runs his mouth so much that now they're learning that he's doing something with a Senate seat. Oh, what?
Right.
What is this?
Yeah.
So now the selling of the Senate seat becomes part of the conversation, and they weren't even there for that. They were there for a different kind of tea, and Rod is just running his mouth.
Exactly, because what happens is Obama gets elected, and it's
I miss him.
I know. And so that's when they're saying, like, when we learn that he's legit trying to sell Obama's Senate seat, they're like, well, now we're here to stay.
Because the thing is, Rod was in charge of picking his replacement in the Senate.
Yeah, the governor appoints him. Right, exactly. Like, that's his job.
And so there's this big quote that is on every single 24-hour news cycle. The quote is...
I mean, I've got this thing, and it's fucking golden. And I'm just not giving it up for fucking nothing.
And so, like, the whole thing with FBI Pat, who I love, he's just like, okay, girls, we are loving listening in on these phone calls. Can you imagine the power of like listening in on like the phone calls of the governor of Illinois or whatever?
Who's running his mouth like there's no tomorrow? Yeah. I think that's the reason half these people got into the FBI, just to listen in on conversations, honestly.
And so FBI Pat is like...
And the prosecutors felt that if they didn't move quickly, Rod Blagojevich could actually appoint somebody senator, and as soon as he appoints it, it happened.
Right, because it happens immediately when he appoints this person. Yeah. It happens like that. Like, oh, you want to be in the Senate seat? And then they are. Like, there's no time to waste here. We got to go.
This story is so crazy. The FBI shows up at the Blagojevich home, and I think it's Patty who tells us. It's like...
Yes, it's Pat and Patty. It's like the worst buddy cop movie because they hate each other. But so, and this is like just such white privilege at work, but they go to Rod's house and they call him.
It was somebody saying, it's the FBI, we're at your door, let us in. And I thought it was a joke, and I said, oh, who is this? And I hung up the phone.
Patty's on the phone, and she's like, that's hilarious, whoever this is, and hangs up on the FBI, which has got to be like 10 years, right, for hanging up on the FBI? Like, she's like, hardy har har, hilarious, really funny joke. And the FBI is like, they have to call back.
I know. Pat's face is like, did she just hang up on us? And so Pat's like, so we call back, and they're like, no, girl, we're goddamn serious.
And they said, no, this is the FBI. We're downstairs. Come open the door, otherwise we'll bust it open.
There is something so hilarious to me about the fact that the FBI had to call back. I don't know why I can't get past that, but that they had to like try again. And then FBI Pat is like, Patty was irritated, to say the least. I'd venture to say very irritated.
It's like 6 a.m, and like, you know, she's in her like dressing robe.
Yes.
And she comes down the stairs.
She's sitting at her vanity, just putting her face on for the day.
And FBI Pat was like, she was annoyed. The way he tells this part of the story is so great.
Patty's state was mostly irritated.
As he's trying to think of the right appropriate adjective, the music stops.
Right. And it's just like a close-up on Pat, like, I'm going to go with irritated. I'm going with very irritated.
And then, like, just the gall, the audacity of this bitch. Pat is telling us that they're there to arrest Rod Blagojevich, the governor. And he says he goes up the stairs. Rod is, like, standing on the stairs.
Rod was on the stairway, and one thing that struck me as peculiar that still told me that he wasn't totally grasping the situation is before we walked him down the stairs, he asked me how his hair looked.
I don't know what's going on, but girl, before you take me out in these handcuffs, how do I look? How's my hair?
How's my hair? And Pat's like, need I say more? We can stop this documentary. Isn't that all you need to know about this idiot, please?
I know. Pat has told us this, and then we hear it from Patty. We learned that, like, they went to the Blagojevich home, and they brought a SWAT team, and they brought a hostage negotiator.
They brought a SWAT team. They brought hostage negotiators with them. I mean, what did they think? My husband was going to hold his children hostage or something? I mean, it was the craziest thing.
They think that Rod Blagojevich is so fucking bananas that, like, rather than just being like, yeah, I totally did try to sell that Senate seat, he's going to take his entire family fucking hostage.
Yeah, because also, like, they've been listening on these phone calls. He's super aggressive in the phone calls. He's like cursing. He's like dropping F-bombs. Like, he's like, look, I have this fucking thing and I'm not going to just fucking sit on it. And like, he's so aggressive and like almost mad about it that I think the FBI is like, oh shit, we kind of don't know who we're dealing with. Also, he knows we're tapping his phone and he's just talking. So his approval rating goes down to 4%. Everybody hates him now. They want him to resign. And I'm sitting here like an idiot thinking, wait, they don't just fire him? Like, can't they just fire him? I don't understand, like, what's happening. But then, girl, this is like a big thing. Sam Adam Jr., criminal defense attorney, I think his dad was one of the garbage defense lawyers in the Big Dan's ep we did.
Is that right?
Hey, Matt, for context, can you please throw in one of the garbage things that the dad said in the Big Dan's ep?
Rape is a crime which is frequently charged by people that have not indeed been raped, but have consented and then for one reason or another become vindictive later.
Thanks, Matt. We learned that Sam Adam Jr. is the criminal defense attorney. So was Sam Adam, the dad.
Oh, my God, you're right.
They are such fucking trash because they defended R. Kelly and got him off.
I know.
They are like down with rapists. They're the rapist apologists, and they like just represent garbage. I'm telling you, Sam Adam Jr. is the son of the piece of shit from last week. I'm telling you.
Oh, my God, you're so right.
Isn't that crazy?
I just wanted to say, too, that like the filmmakers are so aware of what a character this Sam Adam Jr. is. Ugh. He gets his own music. He gets his own version of like derpy music. he's saying this whole thing where like...
My father called me up and said, come down to the office, Rod Blagojevich may want to hire us. And so I came down, and it was right then. I fell in love with Rod right then. My father asked me after the meeting was over, do you want to do it? I said, the governor of the state, especially that guy, asks us, that's an honor.
It's an honor. It's an honor. And I'm like, here's what I don't get about defense attorneys. Except for when they're defending your friend Damien.
Yes.
How are they not constantly apologizing for their work?
I know.
How are they not saying, like, I know this guy is garbage, but everybody deserves, like, a fair... Like, we're just here to make sure that, like, the proceedings go according to the law. We're not excusing what he did. Like, why don't we get more of that from defense attorneys?
I know, to say, like, you know, or have fair sentencing, or, like, make sure someone doesn't get, like, totally railroaded. Like, yes, they robbed the bank, but, you know, I don't know, whatever. Or if they're innocent, or, you know, whatever.
Just a little bit less pizzazz factor. I want a little bit less from Sam Adams Jr.
Especially when Sam Adams and his father defend R. Kelly, and then he's walking around Chicago holding a Bible. Fuck off.
I know.
That's not what, like, just stop with the showmanship. Like, this is Rod Blagojevich. This is just another mediocre. It's Scrushy all over again, because we have this guy, Aaron Goldstein, who's another defense attorney, and Rod, just like Scrushy, wanted to talk, so they let him talk to everyone.
Absolutely. I did nothing wrong. Am I guilty of any criminal wrongdoing?
Just say I am not a crook. Do it.
Governor Rod Blagojevich is talking on TV, as he did all day yesterday.
This we believe is the best possible forum that I have.
I saw you on The View. I saw you on the Today Show. I saw you on, I think, every other show that is in production currently.
Everyone. He's on The View. He's on the Today Show. He's on Letterman, The Daily Show, Kimmel. Wendy Williams is here. Wendy, please.
I can't believe that David Letterman had him on. Like, David Letterman is the one that's usually above the fray.
Yeah.
He usually is the one that's like, you're garbage. I'm not doing this.
But he has, like, Rod, like, doing bits and all this crazy shit.
I do kind of love that, like, Letterman's like, I'll have you on, but I am going to make you humiliate yourself. That's the only way we're doing this, girl.
Absolutely. Yeah. But Kimmel's, like, joking with him about it. And I'm thinking, I'm screaming, why are you normalizing this? Stop doing this.
He's like, I'm backstage at the Ellen DeGeneres show. And I'm like, look, I know. I'm like, I know she's really been going through it lately. And, like, she doesn't need me talking shit about her right now. But Ellen, girl, why are you having him on? Why? Aren't you better than this, girl?
Aren't you all about kindness and being kind? Also, like, be nice to your staff. Stop it. Stop. Cut the bullshit, Ellen. I'm done. I'm over it.
It's been a real, look, the cancel culture is out in force for Ellen DeGeneres. Oh my God.
Don't be garbage. It's very simple. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Clearly every episode, because people just are not getting in line.
But girl, you get your wish. He gets fired.
Yeah,
Rod he gets impeached. And it's so funny. Like, somebody says, like,
Rod Blagojevich is no longer the governor of Illinois. He was ousted from office late today after being convicted by the state Senate. Hours before the vote, Blagojevich made a plea.
You guys are in politics. You know what we have to do to go out and run elections.
You guys are in politics. You know how hard this is. You know how we have to cheat to win these things.
Exactly. And the thing is, when they kick him out of office, I have in my notes, I'm like, which I'm actually surprised by, which says a lot about the state of things. That I'm just like, oh, he's out. Great. How interesting.
Remember last episode the rapist actually got convicted?
Right? What was that all about?
I know.
But then they only got like 6 days in prison and no one gave a shit. Great. Can't win for losing, honestly. Great.
Great.
And now, as if things can't get any worse, we're watching the fucking Celebrity Apprentice with Trump. Like, what?
It's time for a new deal. It's time to get back to work. It's time for the Celebrity Apprentice.
With Rod Blagojevich.
I'll do anything, right? Legal and ethical and honest.
So here's the deal. Sam Adams Jr. and his dad, in all their wisdom, are saying the whole point is, I have so much to say about this. We all know, based on OJ, based on R. Kelly, the whole idea is we're getting ready for the trial. They're going to make him famous, and because they know it's harder to get a celebrity convicted. And I'm thinking, obviously, OJ is the worst person in America, but he was a fucking celebrity, right?
Yeah.
Same with R. Kelly. Same with all these actual famous people who get acquitted. Rod Blagojevich is not famous, and putting him on the Celebrity Apprentice where he's making jokes with fucking Sinbad is not going to make him famous. It just makes him the butt of the joke.
Yeah, and usually if you're like a black kid, when you're awaiting trial, you're in prison. They throw you in Rikers. Right. But he's awaiting trial and he's on television with Trump. So great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for everything. Great.
I would like to take this moment to thank everyone for everything.
So he does The Apprentice, whatever. And now the trial finally starts on June 8th, 2010. And he's signing autographs. People are giving him bags from Tiffany's before he walks into his trial. But if trial by media has taught you anything, also you must be new to documentaries. The prosecution once again was way too goddamn boring. Just play the tapes. Why are we getting into the minutia of laws from like the 1700s? Why do we keep doing this? Play the tapes of him screaming and cursing and screaming about the Senate seat and how he's promising jobs to people all over town. Why are we not just playing the goddamn tapes?
I literally have, where's the pizzazz factor, prosecution? You got Sam Adams Jr. over there. This guy's going to be tap dancing in 5 seconds.
He's screaming at the jury. He's screaming at them. These are the people he wants on his side. He's screaming at them. Yeah. We get like some talking head or news footage saying like,
in a loud, rambling opening fit for the theater, defense attorney Sam Adams Jr. mentioned Blagojevich's now famous hair.
Sam Adams Jr. shouted at the jury,
waving his arm and pointing his fingers.
Using a fire and brimstone approach, said the governor was the victim.
It was really fit for the theater. And I'm like, it's a court of law. What are you doing? It's not theater. It's a court of law.
Also, I really miss the theater girl.
I know. And it's like, you almost want to say, I'll take it where I can get it, but not like this.
No, the problem is Sam Adams Jr. is a smart person and he's using his powers for the forces of evil. And he's just saying,
what we were trying to do is be regular. You got to be regular. These are people who get up in the morning, put on their pants one leg at a time and go to work. They're not going to see these technical laws and all that and think to them, oh, well, this one has a comma here, this one has a semicolon. What does that mean?
The problem with the prosecution is they're all trying to get A's on their reports.
Exactly, on their PowerPoints.
And the defense is just trying to win. And they're just trying to relate to the jury who doesn't want to be there. They know they're going to be bored to death, so Sam is just putting on a fucking show. It's the pizzazz factor wins every time.
And here's the problem, about just playing the tapes, because till the cows come home, he's talking about, he needs all this money, he needs the freedom, he needs the independence. But after all of that, his chief of staff, his best friends get up there, they're all being called by the prosecution.
The witness, Lon Monk, was Rod's chief of staff. He said he was taking money himself. The U.S. attorney asked him, so how much of that money did you give Rod? And he said, oh, I would never give Rod any money or tell him I took any money, because that's not who Rod is.
So that's all Sam Adams Jr. needs. Because if he didn't get any money, Sam Adams is like, what's the problem? Why are we here?
And you know what? I hate to say it, but I kind of agree. And you know what, girl? So does the jury. So, girl, how does this whole thing shake out?
Right. So he's guilty on 1 count, and they're deadlocked on 23 others. So it's a hung jury, and they have to do it all again. Great.
So, lawyer Aaron is saying
the second trial changed a significant amount, and one of the most significant changes was the prosecution really streamlined their case, and they focused primarily just on the recorded conversations.
They took Jillian's advice. They're up at the pizzazz factor. They really are just focusing on the tapes. And I don't know how I feel about this. Like, one of the lawyers is saying to us that, like, the thing about it is that the government gets to pick and choose which tapes they play. I don't really like that. I'm kind of on Blagojevich's side because he's screaming like,
from the very beginning, I said play all the tapes. When was it that you've ever heard the guy who was accused of wrongdoing saying play all the evidence?
What he's trying to do is, again, normalize this. He's trying to say, this is just how politics is played, baby. That's the game. Right. It's showbiz, kid. It's not criminal. This is show business and politics. And like that's what he wants to do. And I think that's bullshit because you shouldn't be doing this shit.
He was essentially put in a corner where the only way he was going to explain what he did was not wrong and was just politics, was to get on the stand.
Rod takes the stand because, of course. And if you want some pizzazz factor, the prosecution opens with, you're a convicted liar, are you not? Ooh. Yes.
The whole thing about Blagojevich taking the stand is that he wanted to. You could tell this guy was like itching to get on the stand and like tell his story. And he thought it was going to go great. And they say like being a politician, he thought he's going to get to run the room. He's going to get to answer the questions he wants and talk on and on and on. And like this guy is a lawyer. Like that's how he started. He should have known how this was going to go.
Right. Because the thing is, like I said, this is a court of law. This is not the press. You can't just talk in circles and word salads and all this stuff. And the judge would say, answer the goddamn question, girl. And however you say that in judge speak.
Again, I want the drunk history version where we see some like 90-year-old white guy turning to him and going, answer the question, girl.
Or like Jason Ritter just being adorable and perfect and hilarious, who I love. So,
same.
Yeah, I love him. But so someone like told our reporter friend that people were rolling their eyes.
The jury was rolling their eyes.
And that created moments where jurors were rolling their eyes. One lady, told the Tribune afterward that she was drawing pictures of her cats while he was testifying. So it did not have the outcome that he wanted,
This charm offensive he's trying to do is not working. Nobody gives a shit. They're drawing pictures of their cats, girl. How boring do you have to be?
What you got? You just gotta love it. I'm sorry, but like, this guy has skated through life, good-looking, mediocre, rich white guy, and like the fact that it's not working now is kind of amazing.
Right. And so the trial is over. The verdicts are in after 9 days. He does this horrible, obnoxious thing. Remember how he loves Elvis?
Yes, and he loves to sing it at his wife in his car.
Which, like, run, girl. Get out of the car and run. But
what if she's just like...
Yeah, a patty-shaped hole in the door is really, come on. So, like, they're going to get the verdicts finally, and Rod is quoting Elvis to the press.
My hands are shaky, my knees are weak, I can't seem to stand on my own 2 feet.
He just can't help himself. He's such a dick.
I know.
Like, in spite of himself, like, he's like a caricature of himself. He just can't stop being a dick. He's like I just want to say dick bag. He's like a dick bag. He's like a bag of dicks. Do you know what I mean?
Your queens came out of here. He's like a bag of dicks.
Of dicks. That's what I see when I look at him. It's just a bag of dicks. So the verdict is in. He's guilty on 17 charges of corruption, obviously. He's booed as he walks out of the courtroom like, wow, how the tables have turned, huh?
Oh, and as he's trying to like talk to people, because like there's a mob outside the courtroom, Patty, who is fucking beside herself, now she knows she's going to raise these kids on her own. Her husband is going to jail. Like, Patty is a wreck. Rod is basically trying to sign autographs outside the court, and she's like trying to pull him to get in the goddamn car. Rod, get in the car, girl.
Get in the car.
Go talk to your wife. God damn it.
Don't sing to her either. You know what Patty does, though? She blames the women on the jury.
I think there was one man on the jury. It was all women. And man, those women, without those tapes to be able to back up what he was saying, they just, didn't buy it. And it was scary. It was a very scary moment.
She's like, they just didn't buy it. I'm like, you're goddamn right they didn't. Don't blame women.
Patty, do you hear yourself? I don't understand. Why is it a woman thing, girl? What is she trying to say?
That we're too smart and couldn't see through his bullshit? Like, if so, I will gladly take the compliment on behalf of those 11 women. But don't try to make it like those hysterical yet too smart women. Like, shut up, Patty. God. I want to hang up the phone on Patty is what I want to do.
I know. You guys, they go for sentencing. He gets 14 years. 14 years, and they say that, like...
The press strategy horribly backfired because they just antagonize this judge, and he decided he was going to make an example of it.
We learned that the same judge gave this mob guy 12 years, like an actual murderer, 12 years just because he flipped. Jesse Jackson Jr., who we were talking about earlier, he ran a scheme.
Who actually pocketed money. Remember how Blagojevich never actually pocketed any of this cash? Jesse Jackson Jr. did, and he got a lighter sentence than Blagojevich.
He gets 2 years. That's not, he'll be out in 6 months. So, and then Patty, who's now invoking Patty Peterson, she's like,
now there's only one person whose hands our fate rests. It all comes down to the President of the United States. And what's the best way to get a message to him and his staff and his people is to try to appear on places where they're paying attention to.
There's only one person in whose hands our fate rests. Patty, stop talking like that. So she's like, our only hope is a presidential pardon.
Yeah.
She says these words. She's like, what's the best way to get his attention? Go on Fox News, because all he does is watch Fox News and tweet about what he sees. There are actual articles written about it, you guys. That's what he does.
Because if you guys, if you're listening to this in the year 2929 of our Lord, Donald Trump is currently president of the United States. I know. But Patty, she's saying that remember how my husband went on Trump's show and they were friends?
She was making direct pleas to Trump through Fox News, acting like they're just regular interviews, and she's looking at camera basically talking directly to him.
Sometimes the courts and these prosecutors get it wrong, and it takes a strong leader like President Trump to right those wrongs.
And the whole reason she's even doing this is because the president himself has floated the idea of pardoning Blagojevich.
Right.
He has said this. So Patty hears that. She goes on Fox News and she's saying,
well, he was, and we are all so grateful that the president is thinking of us in this way. We know that President Trump is a kind man and he's compassionate. He knows how important it is that my husband gets home to be a father to our daughters, that we can't help but, to be hopeful.
Patty!
Absolutely. And so Trump does this thing. He like speaks in contradictions and word salads, but he's like, I saw his wife on TV on Fox News, and then he goes, I don't know him very well. He was on The Apprentice in the same breath. How do you not know him? But he was on your stupid show. Like, what are you talking about? So he spends 8 years in prison. Trump lets him out. You know what I'm going to say? What am I going to say about Rod Blagojevich being pardoned? Okay, now do Adnan.
Right.
I'm just going to always say it. Fucking cool. Can we get the kids out of cages? Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for ruining everything. Thank you. Goodbye.
But Blagojevich continues to be garbage and to make it all about him. You know how you broke the law and you went to jail and your wife and your children suffered, and the only thing she asked of you was that you just never go back into fucking politics?
Can you imagine ever being in politics again? If she's watching this show, the answer would be no. But if she's not, no, I'm not ruling out.
He's trying to be cute, and he's not cute.
I know.
And so, you want to know what I side-googled? Obviously, at the end of this thing. And from Wikipedia, he was the lead singer for an Elvis cover band, the Jailhouse Rockers. And
in jail?
Yes, but the band dissolved when the lead guitarist was released from prison. Got out. So they just couldn't hang without that guitarist. He was really holding the whole gang together.
You guys, we did every goddamn episode of Trial by Media. Girl, we're done.
All 6 of them. What have you learned?
I guess sometimes the rapists do get convicted, I guess.
For 5 seconds. Great.
I know. The Subway Vigilante is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny Jones is garbage.
Yep.
Rod Blagojevich is garbage.
Lots of garbage, yeah.
So much garbage, girl.
Well, it's what we signed up for, What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Girl, do you know what we're doing next? Next, we're doing this case that we've been asked for 10 billion times.
Yes.
We're doing Drew Peterson, American Murder Mystery from ID. I don't know anything about this case. I know nothing.
Yeah, I mean, this will age poorly, but the Peterson thing throws me off. I think I confused those cases for a little bit, unfortunately, which sucks. I should know my shit. But yeah, let's learn about it and then discuss it like we are wont to do on True Crime Obsessed.
Girl, tell the people where they can find us.
They can find us at truecrimeobsessed.com, our gorge website that has promo codes, our new merch that we designed, and it's all going to charity, every last penny.
Yeah, all the proceeds from merch are going to charity, you guys. Go get a t-shirt or a mug. It's all going to great causes.
Yeah, and we're at True Crime Obsessed Podcast on Instagram, where we go live every Tuesday at noon. Ladies Who Lunch.
Ladies Who Lunch.
Luncha.
You guys, don't forget about the Patreon. If you're looking for more fun, laughs, good times, join us on the Patreon. We are getting close to finishing I'll Be Gone in the Dark, the HBO 6-part series about the Golden State Killer. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
And then next we're doing Fear City, the mob in New York in the 70s.
I know.
Come on, is that not perfect for us? Let's go.
It's all the series. Don't F with Cats, Tiger King, Lorena, Making a Murderer, The Jinx.
We just finished McMillions, yeah.
So many things, ad-free episodes, ringtones, the whole deal. You can find Jillian on the Instagrams and the Twitters at Jillian with a G.
Yes, and you are at Patrick Hines _ on Instagram and at Patrick Hines on Twitter, right?
Yeah, and again, follow us at True Crime Obsessed Podcast on the Instagram so you're ready for our go lives and just like our fun Insta stories that we're doing.
Did you say go lives? Like one word? Our go lives?
Yeah. Am I making it up? It's a go live.
Yeah, I bought it. You said it with authority. It feels like that's a term that is out in the world that I am just not cool enough to know about. So that tracks for me.
Oh, we love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks. We'll see you next week, right? Come on.
See you next week. Yeah, Drew Peterson, whoever that is.
Same time, same place, right? Great.
Yeah, Bat Channel. All right, bye.
Now to yet another new twist in the Stacey Peterson case.
It's one of the most confounding disappearances of the century.
This story had everything: love affairs, jealousy, murder.
23-year-old mom Stacey Peterson vanishes from the suburbs of Chicago.
This young, beautiful mother who disappears and her husband's a cop.
In this 2-hour special, we give exclusive insight into the man at the center of this mystery.
Please go home. Please leave me alone. Please don't get involved in my little world.
This was a man hiding some horrific and dark secrets.
His third wife had died mysteriously in a dry bathtub. Was it an accident or was she put in there?
And enter the courtroom for an explosive legal showdown.
There were audible gasps and a lot of tears.
It went worse than I could have ever imagined. If I had been an alcoholic, I would have pulled out my flask right there in the courtroom and started drinking.
You have a cop who was sworn to serve and protect. who was really a wife killing machine.
I hope you're recording. Go back and hear it again because you're never going to hear Rod Blagojevich.
Wait, let me do it once that I can drop it in. Rod Blagojevich. Rod Blagojevich. Rod Blagojevich. Okay, now I've got him.
And then just do like Rod Blagojevich, like you don't even care about his name.
Rod Blagojevich. I just did a Rob. We're never going to get through this.
Okay, Matt, when Patrick, just drop this in. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Rod Blagojevich. Like that's a name. Like that kind of thing. A zillion points to you for saying Blagojevich right off the tip. I mean, you nailed it. I didn't want to stop you because you were in a flow, but you did. You nailed it. Don't think about it. Just say it.
Health South.
Don't think about it. Just say it.
Health South.
Don't think about it. Just say it. Where does Scrushy work?
Health South. He said by the time we got to trial, the polling was 50-50. And then he says 50 people were coming in believing he was guilty. 50 said maybe Blago was innocent. And I said, that's not really what 50-50 means.
That's not what that means. But that's whatever you got to do, girl. I can't imagine he has an easy time sleeping at night. Or maybe he's just a total sociopath who's like, ooh, got another rapist walking the streets. Yay me.
I know.
Great job, Dad. Let's go have a scotch. Right. I mean, I'm shocked that Aaron's Lower Third isn't like former partner at Sam Adam Garbage Lawyer Company or whatever. Because I can't imagine that would last. They don't like people who stand up.
I took my original notes 10 days ago and I wrote, I can't believe I wrote this. I forgot that I wrote this. My note under the name Special Agent Pat Murphy, this guy is so cool. Cucumbers look at this guy and go, wow, that guy's cool.
Wow. He's as cool as a cucumber, but not even. They're jealous.
No, yeah. Girl, that is like a dad joke if ever there was one.
I love the idea of a shirt of a cucumber saying, hey, you're cool. Cucumber with like cool sunglasses on, just pointing. You're cool. That is the daddest dad joke. I'm going to tell that to my dad, and he's going to go, oh, that's good. Right. Like, that's what a dad joke that is. I'm going to tell Attilio about it, and he's going to go, ooh, that's a good one. He's going to be very impressed.